for everything to catch up. Hopefully.
It does say live.
I know it says live, but I wanted to see it on YouTube first. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MakerCast, a monthly show where, well, usually monthly. Okay, so we're a week late this time, but it's a monthly show where a group of makers get together and talk about their projects or what they've been working on, what they've seen in the news. And you guys get to interact with us, chat, make comments, whatever. So let's start. Brian, I'm sure you've done this many times. Introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm from Ireland.
Oh,
I'm gone.
Sorry.
Thank you, David.
I'm so sorry. You got to the island bit and I thought, nah, you're all right.
I'm Brian. I'm from Ireland, and
that's what I was trying to do.
Now really big. And yeah, I make videos on YouTube around mainly ESP8266 and ESP32 projects, and I sell some stuff on Tindy.
Wonderful. Next up, Arturo182. Tell us who you are. Cannot hear you.
I think your voice is gone.
Yep. Sorry, I'm muted. Yep.
And he's muted.
Yes. I'm Arturo182. I am, I guess, a maker. I mostly design hardware, write software for it. I sell stuff on Tindy and post way too much on Twitter.
Seon has just joined. Everyone, this is the Unexpected Maker. Arturo, incidentally, almost didn't make it on the stream because I sort of forgot to tell everyone he was going to be on it. So I apologize for that. Next up, Timon.
Hi, I'm Timon. Sometimes also known as Professor ProfSparkles or Professor Sparkles on YouTube. I mostly post on Twitter, and I do hardware design. And like my big project at the moment is open source Linux tablet, which I've been really slacking on the past month. And I do other stuff like milling and typical maker things, 3D printing. Yeah.
Okay. Clem off of Mayo Makes. Tell us who you are.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, I'm Clem. I'm one of the makers of Element 14 Presents. That's where people know me mostly. And I also post on all the social medias to a various degree. I mostly make electronics projects, but sometimes it's more mechatronics or just something else.
Okay. Hey, Seon. Tell us who you are.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry for being late. My internet gave out. Good on Australia. Yay. I'm Seon, Unexpected Maker. I have a YouTube channel, Unexpected Maker. I am mainly designing hardware at the moment. I work on all sorts of different projects, from 3D printing, laser cutting, to designing electronics. But recently, I've kind of been laser focused on designing a whole bunch of electronics, which I get to share soon, hopefully.
Cool. Well, welcome everyone, and welcome to everyone in the chat. Generally, the format of these shows is to go around and talk about what we've been up to the last month. Don't worry, I'm not going to change that. That's exactly what's going to happen. So we will start off with the person who's last on the list here. So Clem, tell us what you've been up to.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh.
So some people may, those people who follow me on Instagram may have seen that already. But like for the past week, I've been designing more in mechanical design. I made an RC crawler chassis, a custom one. So that's completely articulated, and it has some features that are not so common. So the wood is only temporary for testing in cheap material. So in the end, this will be probably carbon fiber. But it has some intricate mechanical details. So usually you have to mount the servo either on the chassis or on the axle. And if you have mounted it on the axle, it looks horrible if you want to have a scale look when the hood is on. And if you have it on the chassis, you have a motion problem where every time one of these axles tilts, you usually have a little deviation in the steering. So you can't really keep track. And I've made a little mechanical system that gets rid of that. So if I now articulate fully, there is absolutely no deviation. And I shared this basically live on Instagram, every single step that I took in developing this thing and trying it out. And people asked if I would sell these, so that will possibly be one of my first products that I actually sell in like a big quantity. So that was my main thing for the past week. Before that, I had completed some new videos for Element 14 Presents, but I'm not allowed to share them with you for now because they should be kept a little bit secret until the video is released. But there's people reacted pretty positive to my ceiling-mounted speakers and light panels, especially YouTubers. So I made another project that might be interesting for YouTubers. It's basically DIY camera gear. And this thing is not just for me to play around and explore a little bit more mechanical stuff, but I also am working on a completely custom remote control that is purpose-built just for this style of RC cars. So I want to build it from scratch. Of course, there's an ESP8266 in there. Who would have guessed? And I hope to make it competition legal. So that's my goal for the rest of the month, to accomplish that.
Cool. Thank you very much. Oh, Brian is here. I thought it disappeared. Brian, you're up next.
Cool. Where did I disappear to? Oh, I was typing.
I don't. You were off screen.
Yeah. Okay. No, I've moved my camera because my whiteboard is causing awful white balance issues with my face. So I haven't actually really white, glowing white. Yeah. Okay.
Nice
so
suntan, Brian.
Yeah, the reverse suntan. That's about as tanned as I get, though, that white. Yeah, so since the last MakerCast, I think I showed some Nunchuk stuff. I've been doing more Nunchuk stuff, including I made a little Nunchuk adapter that you can buy. This is never going to focus. But yes, that is a Nunchuk adapter. It inserts into a Wii Nunchuk controller. And I have the design of that up on Oshpark. So you can buy it off Oshpark and you can get 3 of them delivered anywhere in the world for $1.20, which actually makes it cheaper than buying them off AliExpress, which is kind of an achievement, I think. I actually messaged Oshpark wondering whether it'd be okay to share the link because, there's no way you're making money if you're selling something and shipping it somewhere for $1.20. And they were like, yeah, cool, ship more the merrier, share. So that's good. I think since the last MakerCast as well, I got my new version of my D1 Mini Nunchuk shield, and I've listed that on Tindy. So that's just a shield that sits on top of an ESP8266 D1 Mini. It also fits the ESP32 D1 Mini style boards. And Nunchuk is an I2C device. If you don't know what a Nunchuk is, it's this thing, which won't... Again, suffering from white balance issues, the Wii Nunchuk, and so it just is able to communicate with that. And there's also some header pins for servos, so you can control some motors, which I showed on the last MakerCast. Then another thing I was doing with Nunchuks, because I have, no creativity. I just keep doing the same things over and over again. So this is, you might recognize it as Snake. It actually has been running for literally all day, so I wasn't sure whether it was going to still move or not. So this is an RGB LED matrix, and it's being controlled by the Nunchuk. And so it's just a simple version of Snake that I've been working on for the last few days. You can teleport through the walls. An analog stick is a terrible thing to use for controlling Snake, but whatever, it's fine. And you can die, it'll turn purple. My daughter has been enjoying playing with this, so that's pretty fun. What's kind of interesting about this is so these are the boards for the matrix that I sell on Tindy. Maybe we can get it to focus a bit. Yep. So these are the boards that I sell on Tindy, and they had a spot for a gyroscope, or sorry, an accelerometer, the GY521. So I made a Nunchuk adapter that is the same like pins as that. So you can just slot it into the existing slot for that and plug your Nunchuk in, and it works. So that's nice. And then the last thing, I can't turn it on, so I can't really show you, but I've been working on with a viewer of my channel, Tetra 3D, I think his name is. Sorry if that's wrong. I'm trying to make a really simple NeoPixel matrix. So one of the first videos I ever got me into electronics was Great Scott's NeoPixel matrix. And when I was looking at him doing it, I was like, this is amazing. I really want to make it, but I also want to cut every single corner I can, because how he did it looks like it would take so long. Like, he cut every single LED out and glued it into place. He drilled holes for all of the LEDs and threaded wire like back out of the back and back in again. Like, it's crazy. And I was like, how could you optimize this? One of the main things I was thinking of is just never cut the LEDs. Like, sorry that it's not focused. Just never cut the LEDs. It seems like wherever I pull the thing, it just unfocuses more. But yeah, so never cut the LEDs, so make it the exact length. So he that Tetra 3D print designed up a case that is the exact measurements of a 60 LED per meter strip. So you can just put in your strips like that, and yeah, it should be a lot easier. It has little bumps in the 3D design which you'll never see because it's black. It has little bumps in the 3D design to allow room for the cable. And because I'm super lazy, I didn't want to cut wire between them. I have here, so something I got this week, if I can find it, which I can. I got my first order of flexible PCBs off Osh Park. And I have written on the board, which I'll probably never be able to get to focus, but let's see. Come on. Focus. There. Oh. And once again,
we saw it for a second there, Brian.
Thank you, Logitech, for your amazing focus. So this is lazy. So what it is it's a measurement that should hopefully be the right fit for this, that I can just solder between these two strips and don't have to cut and strip wires, because I actually hate doing that. And yeah, so it's fully 3D printed. This is just a white sheet of paper, and it's like a frame screwed onto the separator. It isn't perfect, though, in terms of there's kind of bend in the paper, so I will be putting a sheet of Perspex in between it too. I just haven't got a chance to cut it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is what I've been working on. Apologies.
Wonderful.
About the focus.
I've got some questions, if that's all right. Well, only really one. Nunchucks. Is the Wii still a thing? Do like people play that anymore?
Yeah. It also, the Nunchucks were used on the next version after the Wii as well. What was that called?
Wii U.
Wii U. Ah, yes, that delightful name. Yeah, so like, I'm sure loads of people still have them. Now it's focusing on my microphone. Thank you, Logitech. I'm sure loads of people still have the Nunchucks floating around in a box somewhere. And even, David, I'm sure there's some around where you live, but CEX, that sells nunchucks for like £2.50 or something. So, and you can buy kind of third-party ones off AliExpress for like $4 delivered. And so the nunchucks have an analog stick, 2 digital buttons, and an accelerometer. The accelerometer doesn't seem to be that good, but it is there. Like, it can detect movement for sure, but I wouldn't be like, I don't think you could balance something properly with it or whatever. But and because it's I2C, like, you know, only takes up 2 pins, and yeah, it's pretty nice. Am I going to be selling?
Yeah, I just discovered I could click on them. Sorry, so I did. Didn't know that was a thing.
I'm not sure. So the Nunchuk shield for the D1 Mini is available on Tindy now. The little small Nunchuk adapter, I'll send out the link, or I'll grab the link when I'm not talking and post it in the chat. That's free. Well, sorry, it's available for you to buy off Ash Park for $1.20 for 3. And
good effort there, Brian.
The adapter for the RGB matrix, I will be putting that as an add-on for my Tindy listing for the ESP32 matrix for sure. If you already have one of the ESP32 matrices, I'd say just maybe contact me and we'll be able to work something out. I should be able to, you know, do it for pretty cheap or whatever, even including postage. And then the NeoPixel matrix, that will be completely open source, all of it, including whatever little adapter boards, all the 3D printing stuff, everything will be open for that, for anybody to make their own version.
Great.
Timon, did you show the same thing?
Yeah, I just saw Timon pick something up.
Is it a flexible one as well?
It's like a long...
From AliExpress?
Long thing. They are actually not that cheap. I think it was like €4 or something like that.
That's pretty
I think this
cheap.
specific version is for the APA 102, like the 4-pin with the clock.
Okay, yeah.
You get 2 of these, and then you can, and then one on the other side, and then you can make a matrix out of these.
So like bus bars, aren't they?
This was quite cheap for the amount of it. I think I paid like $12 for the flexible ones. I think I paid like $12 for 12 of them or something, or $9 for 12.
They're really hard to find. I think it was just one seller or two that had these.
Yeah. I saw there's a guy, Squick78 or something. He does a lot of like libraries and stuff. On Twitter today showed, like, you know, those, or the NeoPixel matrices that you can buy like pre-assembled, an 8x8 one. Like, he made basically this thing for one of them, and like, it looks great. It's like clip fit. It's way smaller than that, and you know, you don't have to do anything in terms of like cutting and whatever. So if you're looking for,
those boards are expensive though. Like, if you look at Ali at the moment, like those 8x8s and 16x16s of the like 50/50s, they've never really come down in price much.
He sent a link as part of the Twitter, and it was either to GearBest or Banggood, and I can't remember which, but like it was like $6 or something. Like,
for which one, a 16x16 or
no,
an 8x8? Right.
Like,
that's still fairly expensive.
It is, like, I don't know. Like, you definitely do more than $6 worth of work to make an 8x8 one yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is funny. Like, this is almost like a reverse conversation. Me and you have switched like bodies, have we? Because like at the start of us discussing, like, me and Seon would be having conversations about things, and I'd always be like, "Oh, you could get it cheaper if you do this yourself or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, would you just buy, like, for example, if you want like 8-pin connectors, right? It's way cheaper to buy the 40-pin and cut 8 off or whatever than to just buy the 8-pin connectors." And I was like, no, I'll get the 40. I have completely changed my mind on that one. Like, 8-pin.
Do you know how many male pin headers I had to cut up. Like I bought 40 strips for the tiny pico bags. Never again. I now buy them in pre-cut in 3s, 4s, 6s. I don't care if they cost me 3 times as much money. Like sitting there cutting header pins is just it's evil. You get stabbed. And
the worst is it's not even that clean of a cut. Like the 3-pin ones are so much nicer looking.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we've reversed.
yeah.
I'm Brian, everyone.
Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to take this out of order slightly, and I'm going to go because I want to go before Arturo does, because then I don't look like a poor cousin in comparison. Well, look, weren't you recently voted like Hackaday's favorite maker on Tindy? Is that what I read earlier?
It wasn't a vote. They just tweeted out of nowhere. I don't know.
Well, it's good enough, isn't it? Right. So this is going to look basically like a pile of dog poo, but it's fine. This is what I've been doing. I'm just going to point the camera down here. So I've been working on 2 projects, one of which is an update to a project I did ages ago, which is a temperature sensor thing. So I've got an outdoor temperature sensor and an indoor temperature sensor, and I pull the weather from the weather API. And the other one is a HAL 9000 doodad thing. So this is it. I'm going to try and angle the camera and sit it there. Right.
You can't warn people about motion sickness before you do that.
Okay. There we go. I'm going to make myself full screen for a second so that's a bit clearer. Now, what you can see here is very unprofessional. But basically, I'm using a new chip. I started off with this one here, which is an AC1820, I believe, which is a little MP3 IC from China. And I swapped it out because this one did not work. I think I might have got some duff chips. Did I go off the thingy? There we go. Got some duff chips, and this one is now the YX5200. It's found on loads of these little modules. Got a little micro SD card reader. And if I turn up the speaker, hang on, we'll just have to move the microphone closer.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I don't know if you can hear that. Now, you'll notice the LED is on reversed. So it should be on when he's talking, but I think I need to use a PNP transistor rather than an NPN to detect that, so just switch it around.
The signal coming directly from the voice module, or?
It's coming from the YX5200, and it's reading MP3s off the SD card. Now, you could do this with like WAV files with I'm just going to turn him down because he's really loud for me. You could do it with an AT-Tiny85, even WAV files, but I can put loads and loads of MP3s on here, use this little chip, and the AT-Tiny85 can do loads of other things rather than trying to decode the WAV files. The difficult thing here is at the moment I'm using a PAM 8403, but I noticed that Arturo and Seon use the PAM 8301. And I've been trying that out, but it sounds terrible at the moment. It's got this regular popping noise. It goes pop, 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 pop. And I'm assuming it's USB interference, but I've not figured out how to filter it out yet. So I've designed it with that in mind. And I've got a new Eagle design. Hang on, let me just share it with you so you can see it. I'm super looking forward to getting this darn thing printed. It's going to look probably really, really trashy, but I'm hoping it looks reasonable. So let me just open that up.
We expect it to look crap, David.
Well, yeah, the crap 9000. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. And that one, I guess. Is there anything else on there? No, good. You just have to ask yourself that question, don't you? So this is now my board. I've routed everything. Oh, hang on. There's an air wire there that probably can just flip around. That's a loose ground. Hang on a minute. Rat's nest it. Ah, never mind. So there it is. It's all wired up, and I've got this big exposed copper area down here as a touch sensor, which I haven't tested yet. So I need to mock this up tomorrow before I send it off later in the week to actually get printed. If I show you the manufacturing board outline, you'll see what it looks like. I think I've shown this on stream before, honestly. I've been working on it for like 1 billion years. So this is the front of the HAL 9000. It doesn't say anything up here because those are going to be covered by a sticker, which is how I was able to stick some wires in and hide them. So there's that. Let's get rid of the screen share.
Hey, David, so where do you mount the speaker for that?
Oh, right. Let me, oh God, do I have to do
because
that? Hang on a minute. There we go.
Just touch panel at the front that you're doing with all those wires. If you made the wire fraction bigger, I don't know, you could put the speaker behind it.
Oh, yeah, these aren't all wires. So some of these are holes. The only wires here are there and, oops.
Oh, is that whole front exposed copper?
Yeah, the whole front's exposed copper, and these are holes through it. And the reverse has no copper, so that nothing can sort of interfere. I'm hoping it's not through hole and all that stuff. But the speaker connections are just here. I've put a little speaker outline there, but in reality, it will be underneath this. I've created a 3D printed stand for it. Not that I've even got a thing that's this size yet to test it out with. But it should just be a little desk toy. What I am searching for is a vertical USB connector so that it can be plugged in all the time. At the moment, I've just got a stand-in for that, which is a couple of 5-volt like pads there to solder onto. But I haven't seen any that are really easy to use, so I'm going to have to go on LCSC and see what I can find. I'm not looking at chat while this is going on, so if anyone sees anything, do let me know. The other thing is this ESP32 thing. So Seon a while back got me into doing MicroPython, and I said that I'd had a go with it and then completely gave up. But I picked it up again, and oh no, where does that Y go?
Famous
oh,
word.
Dear.
That one go.
I hate breadboards.
It's only ground. It's only ground. It's only ground. There we go. So let's just reset the bloody board. Hang on. Hopefully that works. Don't pull anything else out. What's yep, it's it appears to be working really well.
Never demo live, remember?
Oh, for heaven's sake. Is it ground? Hang on a minute. It's not. It's VCC. And hopefully that's not the bootloader button. There we are. Right. Focus. Oh, there we go. So it tells me my indoor temperature. It's got a DS 18B20 on there. But if I connect my mobile phone up to as a hot spot, whatever that thing's called. So it will, I've only done it with my phone so I can turn it on and off. So I can see what the failure mode is. So when I first did that, I connected it to my home Wi-Fi. Let's just oh, for heaven's sake, come on. So no, let's just reset. Null's not a good sign. So I connected up to my home Wi-Fi, but I had no failure mode on that. So I couldn't tell when it was just not working. That's great. Come on now.
It's the demo effect.
It is, isn't it? That's so annoying. So it was picking up my local weather, please. What? Okay, it's just not working. Anyhow, so basically what I wanted to do was figure out, it's going to make you all motion sick again because I'm not going to need to look at the bench anymore. Oh. Yep, there we go. I'll just take myself away. So what I wanted to do was use MicroPython for the project for the first time, which was easy in terms of syntax and everything, but in terms of how you load libraries onto the thing, it was just a bit more difficult than I imagined. But it was fun, and it's easier, much easier than using like the Arduino IDE. Now that I'm using VS Code for everything, just works really well. So that's mostly what I've been working on, and I don't intend to really exceed any of that in a month. That's enough time for me. I'm really busy at work. So, all right. Unless anyone's got any questions, I'll move on to someone that's probably achieved a little bit more.
I think Clem is backstage. You can add him.
Oh, sorry, because I was chatting. I wasn't looking at that. Sorry. What is going on, Clem? What are you in and out? Are you nipping to the loo a lot, or?
No, it's just my internet keeps cutting.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I have the LTE station right across the street so I should have perfect connection. But we have a lot of storms in the area, and every time when something happens, the internet keeps cutting off for days until you repair whatever has been broken.
No, that's
And it's
incredibly
happened
frustrating.
again. So, yeah, great if you pay for service.
Oh, look, the embedded hobbyist said, don't do kids live shows, shouldn't do kids, animals, or half-built projects. Oh, I think
So
that was my feelings that got hurt there. Thanks.
if you're starting a new project now, Dave, what would you use?
Would I? Well, it depends what it's going to be. So that HAL 9000 project, I'm just going to build it in the Arduino IDE. I don't need anything special. It's an 80Tiny85, so I don't need to learn a new language. But for the ESP32 stuff, I absolutely love using that REPL. So if I was to start a new internet-connected project, then I would use MicroPython at the moment. But for everything else, just using like C-type stuff in Arduino is fine, I think. Why? Have you changed your mind about what you use now?
No, I still haven't tried MicroPython.
You definitely should. It's really good.
I should. Absolutely. Like, especially like for me as well, I'm an app developer by trade, like a regular developer in terms of Java or whatever as my day job. I can't really say Java, whatever, you know what I mean. But like, and for the Snake game, like I was learning linked lists, which is something I obviously would have done before at some stage in C++, but I hadn't used it. Like, at all. And I was like, this is the correct way to implement this probably. But, like it just wouldn't be a worry if you were using object-oriented stuff at all. Because you just, I don't know, do whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's stopping me from doing it.
Well, there's a lot less stuff out there already for MicroPython. So yeah, if you could look at the Arduino community, they've written all sorts of libraries for every chip you can imagine, every little module that's out there. But MicroPython's pretty bare bones when it comes to that. I mean, there's loads of stuff for the hardware itself, but if you want to go, is there a 74HC595 helper library or something like that? I don't know if there is. It's not all that easy.
I mean, they've written a ton of libraries, but for CircuitPython, I'm not sure how compatible the two are.
So with MicroPython, there is a stack of libraries out there, but there's no main repository. There's PyPy, which hasn't been maintained very well for MicroPython. But yeah, the biggest problem is finding them. Like you go to Google and you type in MicroPython and a model number of a chip, and 90% of the time you'll find someone's already written a driver for it. It's just you got to go searching for it, which is a problem. And then you got to go and, as David mentioned, you can't just go to the library manager and install it. You got to, go and actually download it, then copy down to the file system. MicroPython's still very new, right? And CircuitPython's even newer. The advantage with CircuitPython is Adafruit are maintaining all of the libraries for it, and they're working, and they're throwing money into people developing libraries and maintaining them. Which is important. And most of them are fairly compatible. They've got their, what's their bridge called, Arturo? The one that lets them run on Raspberry Pi as well for all the CircuitPython stuff.
The Blinker.
Yeah. Blinker, right. So technically Blinker can be a bridge for MicroPython as well. So you can run CircuitPython drivers on MicroPython. But I don't know. If you already know Python, I don't know what stops people from playing with MicroPython and CircuitPython on embedded controllers, because it's a no-brainer for me, right? If you already know Python, and if you don't know Python, I guess that's the barrier. Like for me, I put off learning Python for years and years for no other reason than I didn't know why I needed to learn it. But if you're familiar with, like, if you're comfortable working in C, just work in C and C++. Like you don't have to, jump into anything else. But there's massive advantages for working with either of the, CircuitPython or MicroPython. When you're working for web-based stuff, or you're working with lots of data or lots of strings data and JSON, it's a no-brainer to be doing stuff in Python. Like it makes no sense doing it in C, personally. So,
I agree. It's really fun. I'm hoping to learn a lot from doing it, but it is like, I think I said it's like the Wild West. You know, like you're starting out and you go and search for something, just like if you put, you know, something IC Arduino, you'll get like, you know, 1,000 web pages, and then you go searching something MicroPython IC, like one thing, and then maybe some weird dodgy things that people are selling, and that's it. And you just have to work a lot out on your own, which is why it's fun. I think it feels fun again.
Look at CircuitPython more. I think by now Adafruit has written so many libraries, they've encompassed the whole MicroPython community altogether. I think it's like several hundreds of them now. Like anything they have on their store, they have a driver for CircuitPython.
Right, but there's no.
So far, I couldn't find stuff that I couldn't just instantly use.
Yeah, I can't speak for MicroPython, but for CircuitPython, yeah, every board that they offer, they have a library for that in their GitHub. So it's also really easy to search because you just go to their repo list and you can search there. And they have, for example, for like a 595 and stuff like that. So they have it for the most popular.
All of their libraries are in one download. So they have like this library download file which has all of the libraries. So you just have that and just smash it on there.
I mean, there might be some people in the comments who don't know the difference as well as me, but I don't know what CircuitPython is or why is it called Is it just a different kind of flavor or different boards that Adafruit have made? What is the platform?
I don't know if I know exactly the differences. It is a fork of MicroPython, and they do sync back. I think when it's a main release, but they did change the API quite a lot. So they have, I think they target more like simplicity of the API. So it's really easy to just create an SPI object and talk to SPI and stuff like that. So that part totally diverged from MicroPython. And yeah, they only support boards that have native USB. So that's why the ESP 82, whatever the number that one is not supported. And yeah, I think they seem to be doing kind of their own thing, but they do merge in the releases of MicroPython.
Yeah, they contribute back for sure, no doubt. But there was a philosophical split on how the machine level stuff should be handled early on, and so MicroPython continued on their route, and Adafruit took CircuitPython on a different direction, which made them incompatible, basically, at the machine level, which is the most important.
I see. So it's the stuff in MicroPython. If you say, I want to address machine.pin, it might be something completely different in CircuitPython.
That's right. They use digital I/O, yeah. And so, and there's nothing wrong with what Adafruit have done with CircuitPython. They've definitely, like with everything that they do, they definitely target the education and the beginner side. Like they do that with all of their ecosystem, with their learning guides and everything, right? It's not that people aren't doing professional things with Adafruit products. They are, but their target has always been about education and bringing people in. And with MicroPython, it's all about making sure that you have access to all of the hardware. So CircuitPython obfuscates and actually blocks you from doing certain things in Python on the microcontroller. Like, for instance, you can't really work with SPI and I2C at the same time, right? On a project, on a board. You can, but they make it quite difficult to do that, right? But by the same token, they make it quite easy to use those communication layers, where in MicroPython, they give you've got access to everything whenever you want, however you want, but it's much more complicated to work that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I couldn't get this to work. I wanted to use SPI in this, and for some reason, I couldn't figure out on my board why the SPI wasn't working. And it might be that I've got some weird board that has a different pin out. I don't know, but certainly if it was a CircuitPython thing, then maybe you've got a specific board and the pinouts are all predefined, and I guess it's easier.
It's a bit different on ESP32s because of the GPIO matrix. You can make anything kind of SPI and not, but if you pick the wrong pins, things don't work very well. Where most of the boards that Adafruit are targeting with CircuitPython, they're fixed pins for all of the stuff. So you can't really make that mistake. But look, they're both good. They're both doing great things for the community. At the end of the day, it's about Python on devices. So.
Well, cool. Well, I guess we'll move on from there. But if anyone does want to try out MicroPython, these things are only like £4, so you can pick it up and play with it. Let's move on. Who wants to go next? Because we've now just shifted order.
We had the order of kind of clockwise, starting from
I'm
that
boring
corner.
this year, this month.
Okay, we'll go with Timon. How's that? Tell us what you've been up to.
It's been a slow month for me. Like, I wanted to get more stuff working with the tablet, but I've been fixing the same stupid issue for like 5 months now. Like, it's progressing into different issues, but I'm just so burnt out from that I just stopped doing that for a while and like recharge with other projects. I haven't been doing that much stuff. Been getting a few quotes for the case that I did for the Otter Iron that I showed last time, which I sadly don't have at hand now. But it's this case for the USB C power delivery clone that the artist did for the TS100. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm going to sell that depending on what Jan wants to do with the iron. Maybe we get together and sell a kit for this. Let's see. There was the idea to make that modular, so we can use maybe other tips for that soldering iron, not just the TS100 tips, or like Weller or ICO, whatever there is on the market. I got a new camera, which is more exciting to me at least. And I wanted to shoot more stuff, especially videos. One main reason why I didn't do much videos is that I only had my phone, and that doesn't really work out for good video production. It's a Canon EOS M6 Mark II, 32 megapixels, and it's a crop sensor. I wanted something small because, I always had like a good photo camera, but it's like super old and this huge clunky thing, and using old storage formats like CF cards, and I didn't really use it anymore. And this is like, can do video. My old one couldn't do video, 4K video. And I've been shooting a lot of videos and tiny. This is a huge mess behind me. No, that's not true. Yeah, I've been shooting videos, not that much electronics. Also like to do like nature photography and stuff like that. Which actually started a new Twitter account for. So if you're like into, I don't know, nature stuff, you can follow Boop Nature on Twitter.
I didn't want to click that because I wasn't sure Booping Nature was real. I thought he was trolling us.
Hey, it did do some electronic stuff. I tested it on my microscope. Maybe I can share my screen. Yes. No.
David, the screen share will be backstage.
Not yet, it's not. Hopefully.
3.
But thanks for the heads up.
I have too many screens. I'm sorry. There we go.
I caught you out in the last MakerCast we were on together. You kept sharing your screen backstage.
I fucked up my one of my feathers. So I made this kitchen light a few weeks ago. And I had to do some fixes on it, and when I do those fixes, I applied 24 volts to the microcontroller inputs.
Whoops.
And that completely fried it. And I didn't really want to throw that feather away, and because I'm doing so much with the 7021, I always have ICs laying around anyway. So let's play it. So I tried to shoot some video of me reflowing that broken chip, which worked out okay. The optics of the microscope is really not that great, I found out, but it works.
That looks really cool.
Some flux there. And yeah, I couldn't use the microscope actually because I had to go down so low to focus with the camera. that the actual microscope view was out of focus for me, so I had to do this by eye, which took a while, but it worked out, and it's alive again. And my kitchen light works again, free flowing. Yeah, I've been playing with that, shooting some bird videos with it. This was from this afternoon, and it's actually a good play over to the other thing I tried out this month. We can switch to my webcam view again. I got this
There we go.
board. It's actually for work, but I'm evaluating it at the moment here, and it's called Deft AI. It's a crowd supply campaign, and it comes in a few different form factors. One is a hat for the Raspberry Pi, and it has this Intel Movidius chip on it, which does like machine learning acceleration, and you can get it with like a pair of stereo cameras, and can do like object detection plus depth, which is really cool. So you can like locate objects in 3-dimensional space. And the Pi itself doesn't have to do any processing. So all the camera feeds are processed on this chip. And all you need to get out if you want to is like the metadata of like what objects have been detected and where. And you can of course also get the streams back over this USB connection. So if you want to like analyze the video further or something, you can still do that. Unfortunately, not really working yet because the software is pretty better, but they are working on it. And once that is working, I wanted to like attach that to my window or somewhere and do like a on-demand like bird watching thingy, where when it detects like there's a bird somewhere, it starts recording and maybe notifies you, so you can like watch the bird when it's actually happening. I don't know, something like that. Sounded like a fun experiment for
Where
this.
does the model come into it, team? On the
sorry,
the model, or is that the correct term? The machine learning model, like who's trained the data set to look for birds or whatever?
I don't know. I haven't looked yet if there is one. If I have to do my own, it's gonna be a bit of a work. But I'm actually pretty sure there is something. I mean, there's one for dogs, where it like detects every dog race that ever existed. I'm sure someone did something for birds.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Or at
like,
least it can detect there's a bird, you know?
This actually reminds me of an XKCD. It was from a good while ago, but it was like some, people, non-technical people asking technical people, like, can they do something? And, the response being completely, like, different. Like, as in, the non-technical person asked them, like, oh, can we make an app that, like, will detect when somebody is, has taken a picture in a park and we can tag it? And they're like, yeah, we could just use the EXIF data to get the geolocation. And then they go, and it's a picture of a bird. And they're like, we'll need 2 years of data, training data to figure it out. Like,
it really changed.
It has changed
since 2008. It's like skyrocketed. Like, it's crazy what you can do nowadays. And really
like I'm just thinking, if the hat, is sending back, I've detected a bird, then the hat needs to know about what a bird is, right? The model needs to be loaded onto that, whatever that hat is called.
Yeah. The chip itself can like store a model and then execute that. I'm not sure exactly how it's all working, but you just communicate over USB. And you can get also like just USB based versions that are just like integrate the cameras too. It's a pretty nice project. It's not cheap. I think it starts at $200. But it does a lot for you. And I think there's nothing out there that can do stereo. So it like including like object detection plus like depth detection. It's pretty unique so far, at least.
I have one other question as well that is related to the Linux tablet. When you got like the Hackaday, like, when you placed in the Hackaday prize, did your motivation for it after that, like, just go down? Like, I'd imagine it might, like, you know, as in you've reached a really high milestone, and like,
Yeah.
what is the next goal for a project like that? You know,
I mean,
the
getting to
next goal
market,
is
I guess.
bringing it to market, right? Which is, you know, a big.
There may be
like,
some people listening or watching that don't know what the tablet is. So if you could explain
All
that
right.
as well.
Maybe let's quickly, if you go to my screen again. So I've been building an open source modular hardware tablet for close to a year now. And I've won the best design for the Hackaday Prize for this. And it's essentially going to be, you can see like a modular approach to like mobile stuff. Doesn't necessarily have to be a tablet, can be a laptop or a really clunky phone. And I've been designing a lot of stuff for this. And yeah, I mean, it's true. Since I won the prize, I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't say the motivation went down, but it's more has to do with this issue of like I can't get the embedded display port to work, and not even NVIDIA knows why the hell it doesn't work, and it's such an obscure issue that and it's like it's really important to get that going because a lot of other things for the project depend on the screen. I can't work on the mechanical design further if I don't know which screen I'm going to use. And like it's a really showstopper at the moment. And I'm sure it can be resolved. But you know, when you're working on one really specific issue for like 4 or 5 months, that really took the biggest hit from my motivation so far. Like I still get a lot of people asking me like, what's the state, what's going on, and you know, it's nice that people are still interested. And it keeps the motivation going, but yeah, I need a little bit of time off now to like recollect and then get back at it and try to find out why it's not working. Because DisplayPort works. I mean, I think I mentioned that last time. Like connecting to a DisplayPort monitor works, but an embedded display panel doesn't, and that makes no sense because the two are just really 99% the same thing. You know, plus maybe backlight control. That's it. So yeah, it's an odd issue. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say that the price diminished my motivation. It's really mostly the issue.
I think I was probably self-reflecting that if like I reached a milestone, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Next project.
I really wanted like people to use it. Like I really want to get to the stage where I can like sell some better units to people who want to develop with it and help me maybe with development. That'd be really cool.
That's a really great goal because most of my goals are all like, I want to learn how to do that thing. And then once I've learned how to do it, I'm just like, I don't even need to finish anymore. But you want to see it in people's hands, which is great.
Yeah, it's both for me. I learned a ton of stuff. Like I never imagined I could do like HDMI routing. For me, that was always like black magic, doing this high-speed digital design stuff. And I learned a lot of stuff. And you know, I didn't really just do it for learning. I also, from the beginning, wanted to have this thing. Like not necessarily the tablet. Like the tablet is like for me the minimum viable product. It's more about having this platform. Like you know. Once you have a tablet, it's easy to make a laptop or anything else, really. It's like the minimum you need for anything like mobile hardware kind of stuff.
Cool. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I know you have a plan for a way forward, Timon, right? You want to test first the display with PC, so you know at least that part works, right?
Yeah, I've got some desperate ideas to like get further, but
I mean, you have to kind of close in on it, right? So
yeah, exactly. Try every weird thing that I haven't covered yet.
Yeah. Hopefully next month you can, if you're on, you can mention like, yeah, it works.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Timon. Next up, we have a wonderful volunteer. I don't think Seon was looking at that point. We're going to go with Seon.
Okay.
Maker. Why don't you talk to us about what you've been up to?
Oh boy, what have I been up to?
Do you want to be big screen?
No, because I don't really have anything specific to show. I feel like I've been up to nothing, but it's actually quite the opposite. I've been pretty quiet on my channel recently. I mean, I've been streaming every week, but I haven't really been putting many videos out. And so, where do I start? Wow. So I've been working on stacks of new things. I've currently got 9 PCBs in production and another 7 to go into production or to send off today or tomorrow. I've been really because I go in kind of in waves. You know, I'll spend a bit of time working on, you know, laser cutting projects and 3D printing projects and kind of not do anything on the PCB side or anything. But over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've just been hammering out stacks and stacks of PCBs with a purpose, though. And I've been trying to think about how I explain this on my channel. Like I was going to do an update video or something, and it's been a real struggle to kind of work out how to explain where my head's at right now. But I think I might have an idea of how to explain it. So this is kind of weird. So this isn't a showcase about what I'm working on, but explain what I'm working on. So I found myself where I'd fallen into a trap after I did the Tiny Pico, where I was coming up with all of these crazy derivative ideas. Like, you know, I was working on a Tiny Pico Pro, and I was working on the Nano, and all these different variations of, you know, microcontroller boards and stuff. And I've discovered that I fell into the trap of just designing microcontroller boards, which is fun. It's a lot of fun, right? No doubt. But it's kind of pointless because there are just so many microcontroller boards out on the marketplace right now. And they're pretty much, I mean, the only thing that really differentiates them is just like a different form factor, right? At the end of the day, you know, if you've got a microcontroller that's got 5 pins or a microcontroller that's got 40 pins, it's the same. It's just that some things, you know, some projects need more pins, some needs less pins, right? How many possible ESP32 microcontroller boards can you have in the marketplace? And anyway, but it was a fun and interesting exercise for me. But I discovered over the last couple of weeks that instead of solving the can I make another microcontroller board problem, I wanted to solve, what does that say? Clem just held up something. I don't know. What was that?
It was to someone in chat, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Just for someone in chat.
Right, okay. I've now discovered that I wanted to solve problems associated with microcontroller boards instead. Like I wanted to take a couple of specific things about using an ESP32, what they get used for out in the, I guess more in the maker hobbyist space, or in the user space, not the commercial space, and how do I solve inherent problems that people have using them, or not so much solve the problems, but enhance the use cases of people using them. For instance, you know, deep sleep or battery power usage is a really big factor. Like it's, you know, a lot of people go ESP32 because they want IoT connectivity, but they also want to run projects off battery. Like how do you solve this whole barrier of making a project run off a battery for a really, really long time? Stuff like that. And so I've started designing some stuff that really targets in solving those things, like really solving them down to like a really good level. And so, but because to do that, it takes a lot of iteration, a lot of experimentation, and it's pushing me in directions in terms of my thinking that's kind of very different to just what other form factor can I stick an ESP chip on, right? And it's kind of become all-consuming for me at the moment. I've got boards in production right now that I haven't got yet that are my first prototypes of one type of thing, yet I'm already designing the next iteration right now that I'm going to push into production already, in the hope that I've solved some things already when I get them back, just because of how long things are taking with JLC PCB at the moment. And I've already got some early prototypes of some derivative work from it, which I'm not going to explain what they are. I'll hold them up. But I've got a couple of things here. These are small implementations of some ideas that I've got. I think both of these things I'm going to take to market. I'm not going to say what they are yet.
I just put you on big screen.
Just missed it.
I'm being secretive on purpose because, everyone knows that I share my stuff anyway, and I'll absolutely share everything when I'm ready. But I think I found a void in the marketplace that no one's filled yet for an idea or a way of tackling some stuff that I'm quite surprised I can't find a solution for already. And I think I've come up with one. And I'm really keen to share what I'm doing, but I don't want to jump the gun. I want to actually see if I can make something out of this thing, and launch some products around it. And so I've got my first two proof of concepts here, which both work, and they work really well. Although I connected the wrong power source into a chip on one of my boards, so half of it works, half of it doesn't. That's okay. That's already been solved. Anyway, so I'm really excited about where I'm going with that at the moment. But because of that, I've been pretty much blocking everything else out. And I've just worked out, so this, just a bit of stats, there's 31 components. No, there's 29 components in my Tiny Pico. This new board I've just designed that's going to go into production probably today or tomorrow has 41 passives on it, not including everything else that's on there, right? I don't know how many components in total, probably about 70. But there's 41 passives alone on this board, which I'm trying to, spending my time trying to simplify right now. But I think simplifying it and optimizing it is a silly thing. I should just see if it works first. So I'm really, I'm going kind of out there in what I'm working at the moment, but I should have some really exciting things to show over the next few weeks. Even if it doesn't work, I'll still show what I'm working on.
Cool.
But that's kind of been exciting for me, but not overly exciting for to share on the channel, because I don't really want to mention exactly what I'm doing yet. And it's just fun making PCBs again.
That's cool. I tried something very similar with not with the ESP32s, but with the ESP
8266.
Thank you, 8266. Just completely lost it there. I tried using a TPL 5110, which is this little timer chip to turn on a MOSFET and turn on the thing, so I can set a regular interval. But I tried it, and then it just didn't work for my use case, like turning it on and off at these regular intervals when I wanted to change it more and more. And you have to do it with the resistor value. And then I looked at some power multiplexing stuff so that I could switch from the mains power to battery power for some other stuff. It was too difficult for me. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Yeah, there's already can't remember whatever model that chip was. I mean, so Kevin Dura's got his trick board, which is an ESP8266, which goes a similar way. It's using discrete logic to be able to turn things on and off. And I mean, he's solving a different problem. He's obviously solving really low power use and having things like triggers that can turn the board on, hence called a trick board. And he's got an ESP32 version of that coming out soon, which I'm looking forward to seeing and getting my hands on. But yeah, I'm trying to solve this in a different way. I'm trying to make something that's solved through programming, not through hardware that gives you a fixed result. A way that people can actually tell their board or their system, this is how often I want you to wake up, or multiple ways of waking up based on timers. Like the ESP32 has a terrible built-in RTC. Like it's really poor. Like it's got minutes worth of drift every hour, so it becomes useless to do anything beyond maybe once a day maximum, which is kind of pointless. And And even though, I mean, the Tiny Pico's got the lowest deep sleep out of any of the ESP32 boards out there in the market, but I cannot get it any lower. And it's not even close to what espressive say the chip can go into. You know, they say the chip can get down to 5 microamps in deep sleep. But the fact is the components on the board with it can't, right? And the components on the board that make the chip run, even in deep sleep mode, you know, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on components, you still can't get it lower than, you know, your 18 to 20 microamps, which I know is really low. Like, it's, for a lot of things, it's great, but my aim is to get it down to 1 microamp. Right?
Wow.
That's what I want to do, right?
So this thing here has one of these AMS 111.111.117s on there. And I think that's probably like 5 milliamps or something ridiculous. It's really high for a sort of quiescent current. So what? No, I want to ask questions about what components you're using, so I'll skip that. But I will look forward to seeing which components you select.
Sure. I mean, the LDO I use on my Tiny Pico right now goes down to 1.2 microamps quiescent current, right? So, but everything adds up because you got the PMIC on there. Okay, well that's about 1 or 2 microamps, and you got the LDOs about 1.2 microamps, and then you've got some pull-ups and some this and that. And by the time you add everything all together, you're suddenly at like 6 or 7 microamps just for the components on the board, right? And the ESP, they say 5 microamps, but it's not. It's more like 11, right? I don't think anyone's, I mean, sure, an ESP by itself in complete isolation might do that, but you can't do that. Like, you can't run an ESP chip without stuff connected to it. So yeah, I'm going in a different direction with it, and I'm pretty excited. The results so far are looking really good. And lastly, sorry, I've taken too much time. Lastly, I'm finally, I showed on my stream last week, I'm finally kitting up my Whopper. I have stuff all over my office at the moment, laser cutting stuff and PCBs and 3D prints. But this is my Whopper project, which just showing a clock right now. I started writing up the Tindy page for it, and I reminded myself how much I hate writing marketing material for my stuff. It's why I got out of games. One of the reasons I got out of games is all the marketing stuff I had to write. But yeah, that's all coming together. So hopefully I'll be launching that very soon as well, for those who've been waiting patiently for them. Yeah, that's me. That's it. I've got a lot of stuff to show soon. Nothing right now.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Seon. Has anyone got any questions for Seon before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree with the what you said about boards, that you can always make hardware just for the sake of making hardware, but like if there's no like gimmick, or you need something to make, to like if you want to sell or you want to make people interested in it. Like with the Serpente, it's just another CircuitPython board, but like I made it tiny and fairly cheap. So like I had this idea that this is one of the cheapest ways you can get started with CircuitPython, but also you can use it as a module and so on.
Yep.
And similar, like I will show some boards that are in the Feather form factor, and that allows you to, you are now a part of the ecosystem. You can use all their shields and all that. Because if you create a board that you define a new form factor, then suddenly there's no shields that you can use. You would have to create your own ecosystem for that. So there is a benefit of.
That's right, which is what I did with the Tiny Pico, but I don't want to do that again. Like that was a lot of work, right? I'm going to spend as much time working on all the shields and libraries and everything else as I did just for the Tiny Pico. And that was just too much work for one person. Like I enjoyed it and I'm glad I did it, but I don't want to go down that road again. And I also don't want to constrain myself that everything I make from now on has to be compatible with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm being drawn towards that whole keeping that going type thing, where I want to see if I can, go a different direction and see if I can solve something else with it. Because there's so many different form factors. Like the Serpente is a great example of, here's a nice little board. You can plug it directly into your computer if you want it. You can use it as a module, but you've done that now, right? And so, like, where do you go with that? Like, how many more different variations do you make on that one idea?
No, exactly. And I kind of also, I painted myself into the corner because I made it so tiny that I can't really make one with a different chip because no chips really fit there. Like
Sure.
I couldn't make one with like NRF, or because there's no space for the antenna, or a SAMD 51 because it's like too large.
Yep.
But that was my idea, that it is tiny and it's kind of one-off. Like I didn't want to create the whole ecosystem because that's a task of its own. That I just
You can get like wafer level chip package for the 51.
Yeah, the WLCSP stuff like that, but
it's horrible.
Yeah, and not cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we move on, there has been a question, Seon. I'm popping it on the screen now.
No pressure.
I don't know. I did the costing the other day. I did the costing and I had a heart attack. It's not going to be cheap. I'll be honest. Well, it depends. Like, you know, I mean, just the displays alone are like, you know, just under $8 just for the displays. I don't have a price yet. I'll let everyone have a shock when I release it. It's going to be what it is. I'm not going to make a loss on them, but I'm also not going to, you know, I mean, there's quite a bit of manual work involved with kitting them up, and I have to, as I mentioned on my stream, I have to pre-assemble all the front SMD stuff on the boards for everyone because they're not hand solderable. So there's quite a bit of work I need to do for every kit, but yeah, I'll probably end up making, if I'm lucky, I'll make maybe $5 on each kit, which is ridiculous. It's such a stupid idea. But I just want to get them out there now. So, yeah, I don't know. Under $100. There you go.
There's a promise.
US
everyone.
or Australian.
Okay, well, let's move on. I think there's only one person left, funnily enough. You have an interesting T-shirt on, which I immediately misread and thought was a rude word. But it actually says, "To what?" What does that mean?
This is from the Chaos Communications Congress, I don't know, 3 years ago. And
3 years ago.
I think Timon could explain this better because I think this is something German-ish.
I hope it doesn't mean
like
twat.
do something.
No. Sorry, could you?
TU is like do, and what is like something. Do something.
It's like a call to action, just do something.
I see, good.
And has a continuity tester here.
Oh, nice. Oh, like one of those mains electricity type screwdriver things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which took forever to actually see what is it.
I thought it was like a
I thought it was a
steak or
guitar or something. For like
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so tell us what you've been up to.
Yes, if I can switch to my other camera. Yeah, that works. Okay, so I don't think I showed this last MakerCast. I have these two. Yeah, this is going to focus well.
Shall I make it? I'll try and make it large.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that works quite well. So this isn't the last month, but I've been working on these two feather boards, which feature the NXP IMX RT10 family, which are like these really fast, highly clocked ARM Cortex M7 chips. And you might be familiar with them because the fairly high-end one is in the new Tinsy, and it runs at like, was it 900 megahertz, I believe?
Oh my gosh.
I think 600.
600? Yeah, okay. So these two are, like this one is the lowest in that family. So this one runs only at 500 megahertz. Okay, that's totally flipped.
Only 500. That's
It's only 500 megahertz and only 128 kilobytes of RAM. But this is something that, I'm working on to have on my Tindy because this chip is, I don't remember now, but it's a few euros. It's very low cost. So I think these boards will be fairly cheap. And I had some extra space. So I have a ESP Pico D4 here. So you can use CircuitPython on this one to talk Wi-Fi and also some, GPIO. So it's like, I think a fairly nice board for prototyping, which is all my boards are for prototyping. But if you've seen on my Twitter, I have this running connected to a display displaying stock prices, which it fetches over Wi-Fi. So it's really fast from what I've been testing, because it's the 500 megahertz. It's not as much RAM as like the SAMD51, but I think it's good enough. And this
how much
one,
is flash?
so these chips don't have internal flash, so it's as much flash as you put on it. And I'm planning to put 8 megs of flash on them, because that's
a lot.
Yeah, so 1 meg for the code, for like the C code, the firmware, and then 7 will be available just for putting images, whatever you want, your Python code and such. I mean, at this point, the price difference between 4 megs and 8 megs is so little that might as well do 8. And then this one, you can see it's faster because it's red.
I like that.
So this one has, it's the higher in that family. So it's 600 megahertz and has 1 meg of RAM, which is pretty sweet. Otherwise it's a BGA. So this one is slightly more expensive. It doesn't have the ESP, but it has a connector here, and there is a LCD interface on that connector, 18-bit, I believe, that supports up to like 720p or something like that. It's pretty high. So I haven't tested that LCD interface yet, but I have made this board recently, which connects here. And now it's even faster because now it has a spoiler, you know.
Rocket.
Yeah, so that's something I'm going to be testing soon. So now I have, I guess you can see here, I have all the, is it 14, 15? Yeah, maybe it's 16-bit. I don't quite remember. But yeah, I'm going to be testing it with the LCD here. And then I also...
Someone else in the chat. They said, I'm assuming these aren't directly 5-volt tolerant. Is that right?
Actually, not sure. I don't think there's any pins. I would have to check. I'm so in the 3.3 volt world that I don't really even check.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, they're definitely 3-volt tolerant. I've been also working this feather. It's a variant of this one, so it uses the same chip. But this is something that I've been working in collaboration with Adafruit. So I spin off from this board into a board that they specified, a spec. And
sorry, I don't know what happened there.
On this one I also have a SD card. So this is something that I did with collaboration with Adafruit, and they will be producing them and selling them in their store at some point. I'm not sure what's the time frame on that. That's on them now, because these two I will be producing and selling myself on Tindy, and this is for Adafruit. So we'll see. We'll see where that happens. And here I have the two famous. Here I have revision 2 of these boards. So I just got this last week. I haven't had time to solder them yet, and hopefully this is the last rev, so everything works. But I thought it might be cool to just, if it ever focuses, to show them, like just some bare boards, BGA here, QFP here. So yes, moving on, I have showed this one with the display interface. And the display that I've been thinking of maybe using with that feather is this display, which is, that's really dirty. This is a 4-inch display with 720 by 720 pixels. So it's like really high res for this size. I think it looks really awesome when it displays stuff. And this is actually very similar to the one that Pi Moroni uses on their Hyperpixel. But I designed my own board here that drives this one. It's a parallel 24-bit interface. And yeah, so now I have a nicely broken out here with the backlight, so I can test this at some point. And we'll see how that goes. And I do have, I have the board here also. There's not much here. It mostly just breaks out the connector into some nice GPIOs. And here I have a nice cheat sheet. So we'll see how that goes. Although, right, this pinout is actually Raspberry Pi compatible. So I have tested this with just a Raspberry Pi as a hat, and that part works. So that's so good so far. I thought I would show this because it's funny, because I couldn't decide which connectors to buy. There's two types on LCSC, which is this one has this kind of lever situation where you put the cable and then just trap it with the lever. And this one is more, I don't know how to explain this one, that you put the ribbon and then you hold it. It stays in place when you kind of clip it from the sides. And they were so cheap that I just bought 100 of each because I know I'm going to use. So I just thought it was interesting that this total of these, I don't think it was even $10 for 200 of these. It's just Chinese part prices are interesting. Okay, so I took some notes because this is gonna take way too long time. So I showed this display, and this display I'm using, and David, feel free to forward questions to me because I'm talking, I'm not.
Yeah, I will do. Will do.
Someone asked what was the price of that LCD, I think, right?
They did.
Sorry. So I'm getting this display directly from the manufacturer on Alibaba. And I think it was, let's see, I paid $90 for 3 with shipping. And the shipping was DHL, so it was like $30 itself. So they are like $20, $25, which I think is a really good price. Because they also have a capacitive touch. It's glass. It's a really cool display. And it's really cool. And because it's so cool, I chose to use it in my project, which I mentioned last month. And this is the continuation of I still don't have a name for it. It's really hard. Names are hard. So it's a portable Linux hacking terminal thingy. But yeah, now I have a case that nicely fits this display here. Yeah, so it's coming together slowly. And I have been experimenting a bit with colors.
Oh, that looks cool.
Because, I mean, most devices like phones and such are boring, gray and black. And I think why they should be more playful. So I've been playing around. These are all 3D printed in PLA, and then they're spray painted. And I couldn't do that in the end product because the paint kind of rubs off and it's like too thick. It's not great. But for just looking, like, just testing how it looks, I think it's really nice. Like, you can have a nice teal, or like, someone requested on Instagram pink, so I got a pink also.
The pink looks good.
The bezel, I don't know if you can. You can't really see.
I think Looney's just poking. He's just being mean, I think.
I would say go to my Twitter or Instagram, and I post photos there. I guess for photos, Instagram is better.
I asked in the chat if people would try and come up with some names for you. So we've got Terminal Velocity. Yeah, he's trademarked it already, though, unfortunately. The Whispering Eye. The All-Seeing Eye, a Hackberry.
Why the eye team? Not sure.
What else? Has anyone else? Hackberry. Someone else has done it in a weird hacker language. And a SquarePad. I also like SquarePad, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to be way too clever for my own good with the name, because I'm trying to like you see the name and you know that it's a handheld, that has a keyboard, and that it's for hacking, and like there's no name that will ever just say that.
James came up with a really good one, but it might be a British only thing, but it's called Fisher Price, like a phishing email. I think it's really good.
Yeah, anything that ends with berry, I think BlackBerry might sue me, and I don't have that BlackBerry bucks, to spend in court.
There are loads of answers in the chat, so you'll have to go back later and have a look at some of these.
Usable BlackBerry, magical black rectangle. Distraction rectangle.
I can't believe it's not a Game Boy. That's really good. Sorry, I derailed you there. Carry on.
No, I derail myself. It's no problem. Right. So I was working on the colors and working on the case because I'm actually getting closer to having it, like I said, working together. So I have another board. I have so many boards because, China has been on delay, which, of course. So now I got all my boards finally. So it's all happening fast now. So this is another board I have had in that order. And this is, the keyboard for this guy. And like I mentioned last month, I'm using these metal domes. So I have some samples here. And it's really, can you see? You can kind of see there. Yeah. So I have different shapes and different sizes, and they have travels. There's a lot of parameters that I have no idea what I'm doing with them. But yeah, I got a few boxes of these samples, and I also got with them this nice laser cut sheet of how do you call this? Of just like sticky foil thingy, so you can stick the domes to the PCB for testing. And right, so on this board, I have the footprints for the metal domes, and on the back, it's a very simple design. This one, I'm using this TCA 8418, which is an I2C keypad chip. And it's really nice because it has Linux kernel support. So there's a driver, so it's super easy to use it in Linux.
Can I just ask, do you solder those tin little metal domes onto the board eventually?
No, so I will get to that. I have a board with actually the domes. But that's like, I want to show first like how I got there. So here we have another. Again, I showed, I think, at least these two last month. So here I have a silicone keypads, which I cast with a nice mold that Timon milled for me. So I have, one is without any pigment, and here I have with black pigment. But the problem I had with these is they were too soft. They were like 20 Shore hardness, which is too soft. They squish too much. Like you don't get that good tactile feel. So I switched now to polyurethane rubber. I talked a bit with the manufacturer of these different rubber solutions, and they said this might work for you. And you can see like it squishes a lot less. It's way harder. This is like 60 Shore hardness. So it's quite nice, and it fits nicely here. And then if I have the domes, I put it there, and you have a nice solution here. And I have the pigment for this one also, so I will do that soon as well to have a black color for that one. Yes, another board that was in that order, and I showed this also last month. So the chip that I want to use to drive this device is the IMX 8 Mini. So I have this. I can hear the echo of myself on someone's PC.
I could do this whole thing. I had to do this before with BitLooney. Let's find out who it is. Oh, is it already gone? It was Timon.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Right, so this is the official NXP dev kit for that chip. And the great thing with it is that the chip itself and the eMMC and the RAM and a Wi-Fi chip, it comes in this module that you can just detach and use with whatever you want. So I made this board for this module, which is a very simple just breakout. So you have the connectors here, these really high density connectors. I think it's 0.4 millimeter pitch on these. So I went with stencil because I don't want to hand solder that. Even with drag soldering, I don't think that's much fun. But yeah, here, as you can see, it's super basic. It's just some GPIOs and USB. And there's two USBs. I broke out the wrong one, so I can't use the USB. At least I have power from it, so that's good enough. And yeah, it's super basic for that one. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on recently. And here I actually have it all kind of connected. So here I have the keyboard board with the metal domes taped. Oh, yeah, you can actually see that. And I don't know if I put it close to a microphone, I don't know how loud this will be, but you can actually hear the different like force levels. How do you call that? Like how much force it takes to actually press it. So I have these, which are the low force, and then the mid, which I think is louder. And then you have the highest, which I think you could hear that. At least
we can hear it, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, so I've been testing different forces needed here just to find the perfect one. And as you can see, these footprints are way too small, so I designed them. I designed them for a smaller metal dome, but for Rev 2, I will fix that. And then that shouldn't be in the air, but doesn't matter. I have I2C connected to this board, and here you can see the module. Like you can see how simple my board is. There's nothing on it. The module does all the work. But yeah, I have it booting Linux, and the keyboard now works. So I'm trying still to get Wi-Fi working, which is always great on Linux. There's firmware and all that stuff, but it's all coming together. And one problem that I didn't realize with using this one with this display is that, like I mentioned, this display is parallel, but this SOC, it only has DSI, the serial display interface. So, oops, no worky. So I had to design another board, and this I found this really nice chip called ICN6211, which is a DSI to parallel bridge, which is exactly what I need. So on this side we have the DSI, which is up to I think 4 lanes, and then here we have the this way. Yeah, we have the parallel. So I haven't tested this yet because it's only today that I actually soldered the connector on this one. I forgot to do that.
Can I just ask a quick question about that board? There are so many vias on there. Like I kind of think, is that like a routing nightmare, or is that like to switch the grounds around just to share ground? It looks like this is Swiss cheese.
Yeah, it looks like this because this is a board from Eisler, and they don't, like you can see the vias are like more brown than green. I'm not sure how they tint them. They don't really tint them that much because you can see through them. So normally, like these other boards also have a lot of vias, but you just don't see them as much like here and here because they're tinted kind of.
So most of those ground plane vias.
Yeah, so I'm stitching because these are high, like the DSI is high frequency. I want to have a really good ground on the board, so I'm stitching all around, and I just throw them wherever. I don't really align them.
There's a bit of space.
or anything, but it does look like more VIA than board. That is true.
Looks like chicken pox.
That's true. Yeah. And one last thing is, as you can see on this board, I didn't break out DSI because it was too late when I realized, oops, this won't work with the parallel. So the interface I put here is actually compatible with this board, which is, this is an STM these days also makes Cortex-A socks. And I had this one laying around, as you do. And it has a nice connector here where it has DSI. So I made this compatible with this one. And I can first get it to work with this board. And then when I know this works, I can just put a clone of this connector on my own board with the same pinout. And this board will still work.
It's a Raspberry Pi pinout.
No, actually not. Because this one is 20 pin. And the Raspberry Pi is like 18 or something.
Oh, weird.
Because this one also has I2C for touch on this connector, and Raspberry Pi doesn't, I believe.
I think it has I2C.
But I know it is not Raspberry Pi. I did check.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a Raspberry Pi right here. So yeah, you can see it's
it's small.
definitely larger. Oh, that's the camera, my bad. But still.
Yeah.
And that is it.
I have a question.
Of course, yes.
And I'm sure it's shared by everybody. Do you sleep? Do you eat?
I was thinking exactly the same thing. How are you so prolific? I don't understand it.
So the funny thing is, let me just switch my camera back to my face. I still feel I'm lazy. I have so many board ideas, indie products, and I don't have time to do them. And it really bums me out. So yes, I do sleep sometimes, and I do eat sometimes. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I'm sitting on a project I've been doing for 2 years that I haven't finished because I don't really want to, but I've got to now because I've started it. I don't understand. It's just, you're incredible.
That matrix project I showed with the 3D printed matrix and the light strips and stuff, I have been working on that project on and off for 3 years.
Oh, God.
Whoa. My light just fell.
I think there'll be more people in the chat that identify with the rest of us rather than Arturo.
Arturo's the maker that she told you not to worry about, or whatever that meme is.
Wow. Yeah, because I tried at the beginning of the year make a resolution that I will try to have one new indie product each month, and I thought I could do that, but it's just, there's so much overhead. Like, it's not just designing and getting it to work, but you have to manufacture, you have to pack them, you have to flash and test and all that. So now I'm trying every 2 months, and we'll see how that goes. Because I have like at least 5 ideas for products, which I'm trying to make as simple as possible so it doesn't kill me making them. But we'll see.
I think the biggest issue, so I tried to do that at one stage too, like a new indie product every month. Like, I don't think even the board design, my board designs are not the same as yours. And also for every project you're making there, you've made about 10 different boards to make it work. But I found the biggest issue was the support of it, like the documentation around it, like Seon's currently writing up his listing. That takes time, writing up your support documentation and driving people towards it. So you probably need to make a couple of projects that use it. And it's just like the making of this stuff wasn't the problem. It was everything else was the problem.
You need some nice photos of the board being in use so people get an idea what it's used for. But my cheat for that is I use CircuitPython. So yeah, I'm a by day a software guy, so I don't want to do so much software in my free time. So I'm trying to offload that as much as possible. So that's why Serpente, I just did the hardware and then it runs CircuitPython. These IMX, these IMX boards, I actually made the initial port for CircuitPython for it, but now it's kind of in the hands of the community and there's people working on it. So I just, sit there and wait for the software to be done. So that's another thing. And this project, it didn't have to be Linux, but having it be Linux makes it so much easier in a way, because you get so much for free once you run Linux. You get the display drivers and you get so much for free just by running Linux.
Yeah, I do the same. Like for the tablet, I chose like the Jetson for a reason. Like NVIDIA is a bit, it's not like Raspberry Pi, but there's so much stuff done for you. Like I don't have to do any software once. It's a big part. Like just jump on an ecosystem.
Oh look, I'm the laziest person here. I can guarantee you that, like everything I have uses something from somebody else. You name any project, I'm using something from somebody else. Like the Christmas tree is basically Dave's slot badge.
Dave Darko, yeah.
Dave Darko's slot badge. The matrix boards, like, they're using PX matrix. I didn't write that. And like anytime I'm using any, like, I don't know, 7-segment display driver, I'm like, yeah, I'm 100%. I don't care if there's cheaper ones, better ones, or whatever. I'm using one that has like a decent library support already, because I don't want to write anything. Like I want to write this.
I do remember you writing some libraries for connecting with APIs, right?
That's true. They didn't exist at the time, and I was trying to help. And that was mostly before I had children, or at least 2 children. Yeah, 1 child manageable, 2 children not manageable.
So like finishing projects is hard for everyone, right? I forget about selling on Tindy. Like, you're excited at the start of a project and you get 80% of the way through it. And it's always those last finishing things that most people get stuck, right? They move on to something else. So for me with Tindy, that's the same thing. Like designing a product idea and getting it all ready and getting it solved is exciting. Getting it actually up on Tindy, that's that last bit for me that I stall on, right? Or getting that last bit of code ready so I can get it out there. Like my IO expander shields for my Tiny Pico that have been done for 6 months now. I've got them built in a container, fully packaged, ready to go, but I haven't got the last bit of my library finished because I'm procrastinating over it, right? It's that last bit getting across the line that's a problem. Like I mentioned on my stream, actually, I think I mentioned on the last MakerCast I was on that for 2020, my plan was to not get a product every month like Arturo, but was to finish up a whole bunch of projects, right? And kind of clean my slate. So I worked out last night, I currently have 27 projects on the go. Somehow I've gone from cleaning up projects and clearing my slate to having more projects than I've ever done at once before. And now I can't get anything done. Like I'm trying to get them all inched forward. Like, how do you get them all forward, Arturo? Like, you're working on all different things. Do you say, I'm going to spend today working on this? Or do you say, I'm going to spend an hour at a time working on this? How do you push them all forward at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, having so many projects is part of keeping my interest up also, because I can always context switch to a different project if I get too bored. But then there's a chance that I will never go back to that one. So that's a bit risky also, which has happened. Yeah, there's a whole cemetery full of projects. But yeah, I started also this year something new that I have now Evernote to-do list where I put down for each project the stage of it and what needs to be done. So when I go to my hackerspace, I just go through the to-do list and see, this looks interesting today. And usually it's one thing per day, a day. So I don't jump around too much because, it takes some time to ramp into whatever you're doing. So
yeah, context switching can obviously sometimes, really slow things down to get your mental space back into the next thing.
And it's also, I usually start my like hack session with soldering, because that kind of gets me mentally in that hacking mindset. And then I switch to software, which, you know, I dread.
Yeah.
And you don't put anything on YouTube either, which probably saves so much time.
Oh, I bet it does. I mean, I don't. I also don't right now.
Me either, really. But, you know, like, yeah, like it's funny, say, this acrylic sheet that is meant to go on this thing. Like, I should have done that by now. That's been
How long have
sitting
you
on
had
my
it?
desk. It's been there for like, I don't know, weeks. But the problem is that this will eventually become part of a video. So I need to get time to do it when I'm, you know, recording, you know, as in I have to record myself doing it. And that just completely puts me off wanting to do it at the moment. Or, you know, I need to set myself up. I can't have my 3D printer running. I can't, you know, whatever. Like, yeah. Or maybe I'm just using it as an excuse to not do it because I'm not fully sure how I'm going to cut it. But yeah, like definitely, it definitely has slowed me down in the past. Where like I'm like, oh, will I? You know, I need to save this for when I'm recording it, or maybe I don't stream anymore. But I used to do that where I'd be like working on something and I'd be like, oh, this might be interesting on a stream. So I'll just not work on that because it'll give me something to stream about. And yeah, so maybe Arturo has it figured out. Just no YouTube. Just
yeah. I did stream my KiCad sessions a bit back.
Those.
Yeah, it was kind of both nice and not so great at the same time, because it's really cool to have that interaction, and I speak to myself anyway, so it works. But also it's obviously a bit more distracting, so you don't have the full attention and you might get thrown off your yeah, you know what I mean, like if you're focused and then someone asks a question, you have to switch that context and like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I love how you just went, you might get thrown off your, and then got thrown off that thought.
Because I forgot the word.
Yeah,
you know what's crazy though is that like whether it's releasing something on Tindy or whether it's finishing a video, it always feels great when you do it.
Yeah.
Like you always, it's such a relief when you get your product shipped or you get your video out, even if it's not as good as you were hoping it would be, whatever. But it's still not enough to get you through the next time. Like, you know that the reward always feels good at the end, but you still struggle the next time again and again. Like, you know what I mean? It never solves the procrastination issue. That's what I find with me anyway. So.
Yeah, I think that was, I mean, not with you videos, but it was really hard for me at some point to find, like I was trying to reverse psychology myself, kind of like, what would it take to give me incentive to work on my projects? Like, is it selling them? Is it the money? And no, like, I don't care about that much. Is it, you know, like fame, stuff like that? And it really has to be kind of, you have to do it for yourself, because everything else is just not gonna work. Although there was temporary that high kind of on Twitter, you know, you post a photo, you get like 100 likes. So that's awesome. But it also gets, that's going to sound bad, but it gets old. Like you can only get that so many times.
He needs a new fix now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not enough anymore.
I wouldn't know about this 100 likes business that you're talking about. That definitely hasn't gotten old for me yet, because it's happened like twice. Yeah.
But it is, I can't lie, it is a bit of a motivation to see new followers get in, because it's nice to see that people appreciate your work in a way, I think. So that's really nice. But yeah, you have to also do it for yourself, because in the end, that's what matters, I think.
The money can be nice too. That's a nice little.
Yeah, exactly, but yeah, I don't know. Like I try to make my products affordable, so I'm not about that money. Like my Serpent, you can buy that for $11 with the code. So I'm definitely not making, those bugs on that board because.
None of us are. Don't worry.
Sorry.
None of us are making bucks on the stuff
No.
that we're making. No. It's just...
But I wanted to slightly switch context. Someone in the chat, or it was Johnny in the chat, asked, how would I put characters on this, like labels? And I have a plan for that. So my idea is to try and use screen printing. So you can order custom, like for making prints for t-shirts. I don't know. I don't think I have to explain that part, but you can order screens with your design, like from UK, in A5 or A4 or whatever size you need. So I'm gonna do that with a few designs because I can fit, I think, like 3 or 4 designs for this on A5. So I can try negative or like positive, different fonts and stuff like that. And I'm gonna try to screen print on this with UV curable ink. So screen print on it, and then harden that with a UV flashlight. And I have no idea if that will work, but it's an idea. And yeah, this is super rubbery, so I will have to 3D print a fixture somehow to fit this and keep it flat when I do the print. We'll see. For now, I'm waiting for the ink and from China, so that's going to take some time. We'll see.
Cool. Is there any way to like put an extra layer of that rubber over the top, like a very thin layer to protect whatever you screen print over there?
Not really rubber, but I think when you see, like, this is the UV ink that they use on like phone cases, which are fairly flexible, and it doesn't break, it doesn't rub off. So I think this ink is gonna work. It should work. If it's gonna stick, it should stay there. We'll see.
Is that the thing? Strange Parts guy did a thing where
he was.
Was that it?
Yeah. Except they use like super pro printers for that, and I'm gonna screen print. But,
cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like he had that video where they print something, I think, on a Mac case, and immediately you can touch it when it's out of the machine. You can scratch it, you can bend it. Nothing happens to it. So it has potential, but
tough.
Sorry.
The UV stuff is really tough. It's like a resin that cures.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't need any kind of extra protection. That's cool.
Depends on the use.
Like I'm just like, as I go, I'm improvising and seeing what sticks. That's why I started with the silicone, and that didn't quite work out. So I'm switching. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
I mean, this sounds like it would absolutely not work and be really expensive, but I think I'd like it. Could you get tiny little 3D printed versions of the letters and just put them in the mold, like submerged, so that inside each key? Would that work?
I think so, but you would need like initial layer, so they are not on the top. They have to be slightly inside, and that's
Okay, well, this is me just thinking about it for 10 seconds, so I'll go with your well thought out ideas. We all know you're better than us.
Like this whole project. This is just prototyping it. I'm still unsure if this is viable to be a product, which I would like it to be, because I think it would be really cool to have a portable Linux terminal like this with a proper keyboard. Like, people who follow me, they know I'm somewhat into keyboards, like tiny keyboards. So this is all prototyping. Like, if I wanted to make 100 or 1,000 of those, I wouldn't be sitting there with a mold and trying to do that. I would go get them, like the cases injection molded and stuff like that, professionally made. But for now, since I'm prototyping with quantity of 3, then I'm just doing this kind of stuff.
That's cool. Are we at
30 minutes?
Are we at the that's all right, don't worry. I think we might be, quite possibly, we might be at the quiz time, everyone.
Still a
Get
quiz?
really excited. There is a quiz. It's a visual quiz. Okay, but first off, before we carry on, do you remember that thing, that bit where I couldn't perform earlier. Well, it turns out it started working, so I'm just going to show you. Please focus on that. There you go. So the temperature outside is 4,444 degrees, apparently. So that bit hasn't worked. There we go. But the weather for Leicester is, oh, for heaven's sake. Come on now. Is listed. Thank you. So yeah, it does kind of work. Just a little bit performance anxiety, I think. Anyway, there is a quiz. I need to share my screen. We're going to be doing a picture round. It's not a full quiz because it's been a long week, you know. So let me see how I can go about doing this.
Do we need paper?
No paper needed. All you need is your big old eyeballs. Now, let me just get rid of that and bring that over here.
Are you implying I've got bulgy eyes?
What's that?
Are you implying I've got bulgy eyes?
Yeah, the glasses keep them in, don't they? Right, I'm going to share my screen. Is it that one? It is that one. Share. Hang on a minute. Where's that going? Okay, I need that over here. Those are the answers.
Now that I can see myself on the camera, I'm aware how much I'm touching my face, which you're not supposed to. And
Corona. No, you're not. Don't do that. Okay, so hold on a second. Hang on, I've got to stop sharing for a second because I left the other window over there and I need it back. Hang on, where is it? There it is. Okay. Now I'll go back to doing that. Sorry, everyone. There's a bit of setup for this because really I haven't put the effort in. But you'll forgive me because basically you're used to that if you've watched this for a while. So our quiz today is on semi-obscure tools. So this is a tool used in electronics. What is it and how do you use it?
It's a heatsink, maybe.
No.
It's for aligning parts.
You're getting closer.
Is it aluminum extrusion?
No, it straightens the pin on ICs.
Yes, it does. And hang on a minute. There we go. Whoop. I photoshopped the IC out of that one so that you couldn't see it. But there you go. So it's a weird tool. You push it through and it straightens out the legs on the IC.
You can still see the reflection of the pins. Damn.
Oh, damn, you can. I didn't see that. Oh, that's me preparing this.
I didn't see that.
30 minutes before. Okay, next up, we have this one.
Oh, it's for a wire wounding thingy.
Wire wrap.
Oh,
it makes
like a wire
springs. It makes springs with that.
Yeah, Arturo is correct. It is for wire wrapping. So the old school technique of doing like breadboardy stuff, or using like Vera boards, PCB boards, whatever. So that is what it is, and it's used a bit like that. So you wrap the wire around. I thought lots of people might not know what that is. Next up is this, which I've never seen before.
Are you keeping score?
No, there's no score. It's just like QI. I'm just going to decide at the end who was the winner. And it'll probably be Brian. It'll probably be Brian, who's not said a word. I mean, you could quickly Google this. No, it's a Hako 155.
It looks like a fishing rod.
Shortening something.
I'll make it a little bigger. Hang on.
Or is this for bending resistor legs?
Somebody's getting close.
Bending wire, probably.
Okay, I'm gonna
legs.
Maya, have you got a really silent keyboard that we couldn't hear there,
no.
or did you know? Okay, well that is exactly what it is.
Thing.
So this is a slightly different version of the thing, but it's actually for cutting the legs of axial components. And it will also shape/form them for you as well. So ready for being put into a board. There are lots of people that are answering these in the comments as well. I kind of forgot they might be cheating for you. Okay, we only have 2 left.
I'm too much in the SMD world. Like, this is all through hole.
Okay, well, here comes an SMD part for you. What is that?
EF probe, EMF probe.
What did you say,
holding an IC down?
Clem, what did you say?
Word for a fork for pomfret, like French fries.
Marshmallow cooker.
Yeah, it's a fondue fork.
Yeah.
No, I will give you a clue.
It's a nose pick.
If you bought yourself a soldering station, this might have come with it.
It's for like holding like a hot iron tip.
Tips?
No.
Is it just for holding it down so you don't, I don't know, instead of a tweezers?
The first person in the chat has got it. I will load up the next image. It is called the IC popper. So you put it underneath an IC, you heat up the board with your hot air gun, and then you lift it off or flick it off.
And I need one of those.
Yeah, it sounds like it will land
Does
in
it
the other
come with
room.
like? Yeah, does it come with like a little glove to catch it? As it?
I didn't even think of that. But yeah, these are just some of your tools.
Solder landing in your eyes.
There is one last image here, and this is from very, very vintage electronics before any of us were born, possibly still being used. I don't know at all, but this is it. What are they?
It's a soldering iron.
Oh, that's correct. Well done.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I thought,
those.
do you really? Well,
Yeah.
so
For the fleet market,
for the benefit of the
put it
people in the chat,
oven or in the fire, and then you have a hot piece of copper, and you put it on there and put solder to it. It's mostly used for not soldering electronic components, but like fixing pieces of brass together.
wow.
Yeah, I've seen that third one from the top before somewhere.
The big chisel type
Yeah.
thing. It looks like a murder weapon.
Could do some serious drag solder with that.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That is
Clickspring used
I
one
love
of
the
those in
X1.
his videos. He made one
Like
just to prove
solder
that it
chopping?
works.
I don't know.
I think I'm going to declare that that was the last one, by the way, but I'm going to declare that Clem wins that because I didn't expect anybody to get that. I'd never seen these before. Well done. Okay, let's remove my... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're at the end of our scheduled bits. So if anyone's got any questions or anything they'd like to say now, we'll hang around for 5 minutes while you put them in the chat.
What do we talk about?
We should do an SMD soldering challenge with those old soldering irons.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I would love that.
021 with this hatchet thingy.
I have just bought, and I'm sure there'll be some people in the chat that will be pleased about this, but I've just bought myself my first hot air gun thing.
Yeah.
It's like a cheap 858D kind of one.
Yeah.
It's literally only like 25 quid, but
Who
I'm
cares?
looking forward to trying it out. I want to get rid of the voltage regulator on here, and I thought if I use a hot air thing, it'll be a lot easier. But again, I've never done that before, so it might be really, really difficult. We'll see.
Should be fine.
But so I want to switch it. I've got this ESP8266 outside, which is reporting the temperature. Although for some things gone wrong because it says it's 4,000 degrees. Not quite sure. But it is just a bare ESP8266, so no regulator, which means I can make it really low power to last through. It lasts for like 3 months or something on the batteries at the moment. But this one won't with this regulator. I'm hoping that the USB comms chip, the CP something.
CP20.
That's it. Yeah, I'm hoping it won't raise up the quiescent current too much, but I may just use one of those TPL 5110s just to turn it off and on anyway. Right, let's see. Has anyone put anything in the chat?
James wants to know about HAL 9000 versus Whopper chess.
Oh, that thing. Hang on. Let's just put that there. That might actually happen. We could do that. Although mine... No, it won't. We won't be able to do it. We'll figure something out. We will.
how are these two AI replicating devices are going to play chess against each other?
Well, I'd have to stick an ESP8266 or something on mine, or an ESP32 to do the chess thing. Thing is, I wrote a chess routine years ago for Eric from MakeMe.org YouTube channel, and so it's just an interface. So you send moves back and forth. It was PHP driven, so I ran it on my server and you just ping values back and forth, and it would display it on a little OLED display. And I never got around to doing it with him because he's in Canada. It's all time differences and stuff. But Seon thinks that his would beat mine.
No, I didn't say a word.
I'm sure you said that the other
Threw me
day.
under a bus. What? No, I'm pretty sure I didn't say that.
You could probably even use something like Adafruit.io and MQTT to transmit moves now.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. I think you're definitely right. But, you know,
Do
when you've got...
people- Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Like Adafruit.io is relatively new. Like I'm pretty sure I remember that project, and that's a good few years ago. Like, but I'm actually surprised that more people don't use something like Adafruit.io for stuff. Like I don't either, to be honest. Like, but like any time I have went to use it, I'm like, geez, I really should use this more. But I don't.
I mostly use Node-RED. I mean, I don't want my stuff to be like on the internet. And for the local stuff, Node-RED is like really
Yeah,
nice.
like I understand that, like, but even just say like you want two things to communicate with each other, like as in, and the information they're sending is not private whatsoever. Like even say something stupid like, you know, if you have a temperature sensor or anything, like if you have a device that wants to communicate on the internet, just MQTT is, or sorry, Adafruit.io's implementation is just, it's fine. It's easy to use. It's got
I think this
libraries.
just the whole the people out there so adverse to using online services that could get shut down, that could get, you know, it's the whole licensing of, you know, subscription-based licensing, and, you know, using, like, you hear it all the time, like, what is it, Sonos?
Sonos. Yeah, Sonos. Yeah.
Yeah, are shutting down a bunch of their stuff, making a whole bunch of their hardware. You know, they make like speakers and like all that type of stuff, right? Making a whole bunch of their hardware not work anymore, and they've had to actually renege. Like everyone went up in arms. But you know, I think that this fear about hooking into a service that you become reliant on that may not be there in the future, whether you pay for it or not, puts a lot of people.
Know. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but like, my projects are now not gonna outlast Adafruit. Nothing is like, as in, like, even if Adafruit shut down in 6 months, my project probably wouldn't have outlasted it anyways. Like, it's like, oh, this is cool, done.
Sure, for something like a chess game, absolutely. Yeah. You're running your home through it or something. Like, that's why people spin up their own MQTT servers at home on their Raspberry Pi and don't go out to do it. Yeah.
True.
Have any one of you used Node-RED before?
Yeah, I wouldn't build anything
that's
that
relies
on the
service
service of
but a little more like do it yourself.
Yeah, I have used Node-RED for projects. I like it a lot too. Yeah.
I'm just googling.
You can take advantage of these services, but in the end, the hardware itself should serve a purpose, no matter if that service is up or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is your question, Dev? Like, what's Node-RED, is it?
Oh, no, I was just Googling it. That's what I was saying, because Timon asked if any have used it, but I've heard of Node things before, like Node.js and stuff, but Node-RED was a new one.
It's based on Node.js, actually.
Yeah,
it's server-side scripting in the browser.
It's kind of
quick to do anything.
It's kind of like IFTTT, but your own version of it, and there's plugins for loads of stuff.
You can program like in JavaScript. It's not, sort of textual and like visual programming.
Yeah, you can drag like nodes to each other, and people make nodes for like, say, whatever, connecting to the YouTube API or whatever. Like, as in, Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool. Let me just scroll back through the chat and make sure that I didn't miss anything. I think basically Arturo has just gone off stream and gone into the chat and started fielding questions there.
I just wanted to mention on totally separate note, and even though we have another MakerCast next month, I don't know who of us is going to be. So I wanted to mention that in April, some of us will be going to the Maker Fair Berlin.
Yeah, I will be there.
When it happens, if it happens.
Even if it doesn't happen, I'll be there for that weekend.
Yeah,
so
me too.
exactly. Yes. So who is it? It's me, Timon, and Timon. Yeah, exactly. Timon. Oh, Brian also. Yes, nice.
So that's next weekend.
No, in mid of April.
No,
like
April 18th or something.
Yeah, April 18th.
Still time.
So everybody's social media channels are in the description of the video. Maybe right, possibly got them wrong. Who knows? Have a look. And you'll be able to follow them and see what they're doing at the Berlin Maker Fair.
And also the Hackaday thing as well. A good few of us are going to that. So.
Yes, in May, at some point in May, they're on 9th May.
Yeah, 9th May.
There's Hackaday Belgrade.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I don't know if I'd be booking flights right now. Like, I already have my flights paid for, but like there's definitely a risk to booking flights for like an event. You know, like whatever you think about whatever's happening and whether people are reacting appropriately or overreacting, like there's good chances that big gatherings could get cancelled. So
I mean, Belgrade is really small, so I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, Maker Fair is, let's see.
But yeah, I'll be there either way. Already have everything booked, so might as well.
Me too.
Just quickly speaking of overreacting, there is no toilet paper left in Australia.
No of Australia.
I'll start selling it on Tindy.
No,
Would you like me to post you some, Seon?
no, because it'll get stopped by customs and they'll take it.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
It's pretty similar in shops here, like pasta, tinned food, Weetabix, toilet paper. It's all pretty bare bones.
Supermarkets are full of food, but tissues and toilet paper gone. Crazy.
Interesting.
See, that hasn't happened around where I am. There doesn't seem to be. I mean, there's no hand sanitizer anywhere.
That's true.
But there's pasta, toilet paper, all of that stuff is fine. It's just a hand sanitizer thing.
Well, good thing that everyone of us has like several liters of
every supermarket is rated in my area, except the one that I use. That one is perfectly normal, but all the others are rated. Nothing left. People live completely on noodles, toilet paper, flour, and
ready-made
sometimes
sauce,
they
like pasta
might
sauces.
drink water, but actually beer is sold out in most of them.
What beer is sold out? This is getting serious, guys.
If the world's going down, we're gonna have a party.
I've got to go.
24-hour Tesco, here I come.
Okay, well, I think we have run our stream to its natural end. We're probably at like 2 hours now, I imagine. 2 hours, 13 minutes, possibly.
No, exactly.
I know. It's still possible I'm wrong. So thank you very much to everybody in the chat for watching. Please feel free to leave a dislike on this video or a like.
No.
Depends the way you feel. I do not mind. Share it with your friends, with your grandmas, with your people who live across the world. That'd be wonderful. All of the people here, hang on. So all around me, they're great. And so go to their channels, subscribe to them. Unsubscribe from here. Thanks. So we have come up to the very end. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much to Arturo, Timon, Clem, Seon, and Brian for joining us on stream tonight. It has been a blast. And I always feel much more comfortable after I've finished one of these. So good night, all. I'm going to press the end broadcast button now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.